Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're going to be going over gaming news consolidated for this week. This is February 16th through the 22nd. So what I do every week is I take time to watch videos, look up articles, do some research and stuff, and put it all here in one place for you so that you can catch up with the news every week. And yeah, I don't know, it normally takes anywhere from kind of 6 to 10 hours, depending on what's going on. And this week is a little lighter than normal, which is kind of nice. It'll be a little shorter, but hey, let's go ahead and get started. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is getting official mod support, which is wonderful already. Glad to see that another game is honestly embracing mods, just like Bethesda games. And while, yeah, some are paid, but like official mod support is wonderful. Mods can really like kind of build up the community and revenues too, if done right in the future, which is what Bethesda is trying to do. And two, it just adds passion into the game and stuff that wasn't able to be done by the developers or approved by the developers. People doing the mods can start adding that stuff in there. So far, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has sold over 2 million copies. So we know this game cost them about 45 million, give or take a little bit, maybe 50 million after marketing and everything else. And yeah, they've definitely made their money back. They've made about 140, I think, 150 million so far, roughly. And so yeah, they've definitely made all of their money back and then some. And yeah, now to have mod support is going to be great. And I think too, it's a perfect game for it because you got so much that can go on. And I eventually want to try it and give it a shot. I did try Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, but yeah, number 2 just seems so much more refined, so much more to do, and yeah, a true simulator. So yeah, it's doing really, really well. And then yeah, mod support on top of that, man, that's just going to be better for the PC community, where a ton of people are playing anyway, so that's awesome. Overwatch 2 is adding back loot boxes. So yeah, loot boxes were a big thing in later 2010s. Modern Warfare, or excuse me, Battlefront 2, excuse me. And yeah, it was quite the quite the deal. But ultimately, yeah, loot boxes haven't necessarily been a good thing or a fun thing for a lot of people. It's also been a way to just kind of like cheapen the content. And of course, too, it's always made or designed to really kind of push push microtransactions and all of that mess. And yeah, generally, most of all, we hate it for sure. But yeah, these loot boxes, thankfully, they're a little different. Overwatch 2 devs, are paying attention to how loot boxes have been. And yeah, you'll be able to earn these in-game through playing, doing your dailies, the battle pass, etc. And yeah, these will be coming Season 15, which is already out, and yeah, you'll have a 5% chance to get legendaries, 22% chance to get epics, and 96% to get a rare, which is basically common, right? Like, yeah, that's already there. And yeah, this is likely too because of Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals has still got a really, really solid player base. Marvel Rivals is still number 2 on PlayStation Time Tracker and on Steam DB. They still have 204,000 on a Tuesday. And that's pretty consistent, having somewhere, for their peak, somewhere around like 175 all the way up to 250 and or maybe a little higher depending on the day. And Overwatch 2, though we know like some people play on Battle.net and stuff, but Overwatch 2 on Steam only has about 50,000. And some players came back for the season, of course. So yeah, it went from 32 to 49,000. So Overwatch 2 still has a pretty healthy amount of players, I think. But man, Marvel Rivals is just taken over by storm, and which is pretty crazy. Overwatch 2 is also adding hero perks. These are going to be able to be used during matches. You'll get to choose between 2 of them, and yeah, they're trying to get more stuff in there. But man, I don't think really too many care. People that have already really enjoyed Overwatch or are already committed to that, they'll play there, right? But I don't think a lot of people are really going to port over. Maybe for curiosity's sake, but not actual excitement. We've always said that, like, for a game, excitement is always better. Because yeah, curiosity means you're there, you're just there to try it, give it a shot, see what it's like. Maybe they'll change your mind, but usually for those people, it's not that likely. But when we actually get excited about something, it's just like, I don't even really care. Like, you've already sold me on it, just give me my money. But that too can bite you in the butt too in the end. It's just like, we have these companies that have put out these trailers or put out these betas or changed stuff, after a month or so, or not necessarily being truthful and honest about what their game's like, and then you finally get it and buy it. And so it's always good, of course, to just try things, be more curious and cautious than just excessively spending money. And I think all of us, to a degree, have certainly learned that lesson. But yeah, they're trying, and good luck. Good luck to them. I don't think, just Overwatch 2 has had such a messy ride since launch. It's just been brutal. But they got to try something, right? So they're trying loot boxes, and they're adding in these hero perks, and I don't know. Are we ever going to get Overwatch 3? Maybe. I honestly don't see it, but maybe they'll try it. Twisted Metal Season 2 is coming. We have a trailer. I actually took time to see this and got actually pretty excited because we're finally talking about the tournament. We finally have Calypso, for those of you that are hard Twisted Metal fans out there. Man, this is hopefully going to be good. Now, since it is a TV show, it does have a smaller budget, but even these TV shows have pretty big budgets, in my opinion. Like the Acolyte was like 160 million or something to make that thing, or 200 million. It was ridiculous. And prices are really overbloated. So like, we would like to see more, and usually we don't through these TV shows. Halo is a great example for a TV show like that. But finally we're talking about the tournament. So during the trailer, we got to see Mr. Grimm, Spectre, Outlaw, Roadkill, Axel, and Grasshopper, it looked like. And there's some others in there too that I don't recognize. And we also get to see Calypso, who actually runs the tournament, and this is coming summer of 2025. And I kind of really want to see it. It'll be on Peacock. But I hope they do better than they have been. And while it can be interesting and entertaining to a degree to focus on Sweet Tooth during Season 1, basically, it's still like, that's a character, right? But that doesn't make Twisted Metal for me, personally. And we got to see Roadkill as well through Season 1. But I'm really, really wanting the tournament. And that was frustrating with my kind of talking about Season 1, was just, it's like, look, it's about the tournament. It's not necessarily about any one character. I know they got to start somewhere, but boy, if Season 2 doesn't have the tournament, like, it's kind of a dead show to me anyway. But we'll actually get to see this. So I'll link down the trailer below so you guys can see it if you're interested. We are finding out that the 5090 series GPUs are melting with the power cable, which is not good. And make sure you upgrade your power supply and be careful. Make sure you're keeping track of your temperatures and stuff. But that's been hitting the news a little bit, is that the 5090s, people that have them, here they spent, more than MSRP, right, in most cases, thousands of dollars, and they're just melting down their power cords, the power cables. And oh man, I feel for those people, because that's a ton of money, and it's extremely difficult to get another one. And that is certainly not what you want to do. If it is starting to melt down, see if safely, of course, wink wink. See if you can remove the power cables from your card before they actually fuse. Because then you're screwed, right? Because then you got bad cables on your GPU, and that's never good. But just be aware of that, okay? With your 5090 or 5080 for that matter, or whatever else, is you don't want to absolutely melt them down. Let's also talk about something going on with YouTube creators. There's actually a scam going around right now. This is basically a public service announcement. YouTube is basically being represented illegitimately and telling you to click through other links through an email. And I will link a video below with Tyrone Magnus that has a short video about what's going on, and he even getting one himself. And so this is kind of hitting quite a few channels. So yeah, just be aware. Okay, just be aware. Take a look at what the email address is. And I even got to say too, like, it would be nice if some of the companies out there that run emails, like Gmail and Microsoft with Outlook and some others, it's like have an easier way to actually get information or get access to details of an email without actually clicking on it or without actually having to click links, and just make it a little easier for people to see the details of an email or where it's coming from or what the email address is. Because I've noticed that myself. It's just like, that one looks a little fishy, but yeah, the details aren't always like readily available. So sometimes you got to poke around a little bit. But yeah, that would be a nice feature if you could just get some of the details, get some of the information a little easier, and yeah, make better judgment calls with that. Because yeah, phishing emails and everything else and other scams, they're never going away, unfortunately. And if you're ever curious, it's better just to not click on it, right? It's better just to keep your own stuff safe. And it's important. They'll send it to you in the mail if it's important. They'll send you more emails or whatever. Or you can also always use virtual machines. Or use a separate computer, all of that stuff. There's ways around all of that. But yeah, just a heads up, folks. We got to hear about Crisis 4, which is not good. We got to see that it's actually on hold. I didn't even know it was actually in development, or I didn't remember. But yeah, this is actually according to Crytek. And the Hunt Showdown is growing in player base, and they need more work over there. And so some devs are being moved over from Crisis 4, and which is unfortunate too, because the rest of them are being laid off, which sucks. It's about 15% of the studio, so they're losing about 60 out of their 400. And they're quoting that they're not immune to market dynamics, basically people choosing not to spend money in their games. And yeah, there are a lot of games out there. There's a ton of them. There's and two, there's a lot of repetition too as well. A lot of competition in all of the genres. And so yeah, you're fighting over people's time and money. And when you got microtransactions or battle passes or subscriptions on top of it, it's and you're kind of depending on those. It's rough. So yeah, studios are going to continue to get lean, I think, still through even into 2026. So yeah, even into next year. But yeah, hopefully it slows down at some point, because the amount of people that are losing their jobs in the industry, and I don't mean just in gaming industry, I mean kind of all over the place. I've been hearing more friends too that are just struggling and having a time trying to keep a job or find a job. Because everybody wants a job that pays enough, right? No one wants to have to work 2 or 3 jobs, but maybe that's something people have to do for a while. It's just partly, unfortunately, how it is. And yeah, keep your head up. Keep your head up. But yeah, keep pushing. We just had a friend recently that actually lost their job pretty quickly. They would have like a week left, and that was going to be it. Which most people don't even get that. They're like, yeah, this is your last day, so good luck. But yeah, Crytek 4 is on hold right now, so it's not canceled. So I think they have something there, but yeah, they're trying to support 2 games that they can't basically support, and they also don't have enough money to support the development. And they got to focus what's going to continue to make money for them until they can maybe pick up Crisis 4 later or have someone else help. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't get canceled. Man, that would suck. There are also remastered versions out there of Crisis 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, playing some of them, it's like, yeah, there's some kind of simplistic, by now, there's some kind of simplistic game design and stuff, but they're still fun. And that's ultimately what we want in our video games. We just want them to be fun and enjoyable. Let's talk about Marvel Rivals. Now, this was kind of a big piece of news for a while, that they're having layoffs as well. Now, before you get your panties in a twist, it's just the Seattle location. This was basically 6 people. It still sucks. I'm not like saying that this is like not horrible or whatever. It absolutely is. It sucks to lose your job, to be fired. But what we're hearing and seeing is that this is the publisher NetEase basically finding out that the team was like an art director and some others, and also too with game design for like maps and stuff, and also some quality assurance testing And now that they've basically gotten their use from these people, they don't need the studio. And this is happening too, where it's like, for Seattle, it's of course outside of where the main publisher is headquartered, and the rest of the team, they're over in Asia. And so, yeah, the team NetEase publisher is just letting them go. And again, this sucks. But, if you're kind of done with your job and they don't have anything else for you to do, yeah, they can just cut you. And again, even though this is a very, very successful game, they still need to be mean and lean, just like everybody else, and continue to not have layoffs or make things worse. And, but yeah, this is pretty frustrating, I'm sure. They will be getting severance. We don't know how much or exactly when their last day. Well, I guess we do know kind of in a way when their last day was. We didn't actually get a comment from NetEase. There wasn't any announcement. We actually found out from the people that were actually fired. So yeah, that'll be 6. No one else that we know of is being let go. It's just they're cutting off the team that's in another country, and that happens all over the place. You trim the fat that's easiest to trim, and yeah, that's frustrating. That sucks. So yeah, I don't expect, with the game being very successful, I don't expect more people to be laid off or anything, but it does kind of make me curious. It's like maybe they're not really planning on making any more maps. Maybe they're not really planning on any more quality testing as much. Like they've kind of done the bulk release of their game, and maybe now it'll just kind of be like maintenance to a degree, and some content too. Every so often, there's still teams for that. It's not like they're gone. But yeah, I do think it's interesting. Like here we have a live service gaming. They're letting go of a live service team basically that could do that. But I'm sure it's not cheap in Seattle either. So yeah, that sucks. My heart goes out to them. It also kind of reminds me too of like Tango Gameworks to a degree. But again, it's only 6. It's not the entire studio. And two, to remind people, the Tango Gameworks was not shut down. They were sold to Krafton, so they didn't necessarily go anywhere. They're still there. There's probably a few that were actually laid off. But yeah, hopefully those guys can find a job. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Some actual good news, I guess, about the game. So that's why we're hearing about it. There's actually 300,000 plus pre-orders so far. So I'm kind of wondering if the first DLC actually helped sell the game. Because, yeah, things I don't think were going super good. And so they were like, hey, we're going to work on giving the DLC also as a pre-order bonus. Basically, it's free. So this was going to be probably, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks. And they're like, look, we'll just give it to you for free, whatever. So, yeah, maybe that helped with the pre-orders because people know they're actually getting a little bit more content for free. I mean, yeah, that'd probably work on some people, absolutely. Ubisoft says, too, that this is kind of more in line with their expectations. Previous games from the same studio, like Odyssey, had 500,000 pre-orders. So I think from now, though, they got about another month before Assassin's Creed Shadows officially releases, which I think is on March 20th. And this will be, what, the 23rd? 22nd, 23rd? And so, yeah, they could get a little bit more. They won't quite get, I think, to 500,000 pre-orders. I mean, we'll see. And it'll probably be information, too, we'll never hear about. But they are certainly... I'm sure they're getting a lot more than, like, Star Wars Outlaws or Frontiers of Pandora or even maybe the last game for Assassin's Creed, which was Mirage. So, yeah, and ultimately that's good. But, boy, I still think Shadows is going to be a mess. I still think it's going to underperform. I think it's still going to be brutal for the company, for Ubisoft to actually make money. Because, again, we looked at them last time. I'll try to remember to link down the worst game of the year, which was in January. And if I forget, take time to look for that on my channel, Beyond Gaming News. But they basically got, a few $100 million left before they're broke. And that's a serious problem. So, yeah, you can also, too, always look up, use TradingView, not a promotion. It's just who I like to look. But you can use TradingView online for free and just type in Ubi and look for the American one on the bottom or wherever you are. There's multiple countries listed on there for the ticker symbol. But, yeah, you can look at their financials and stuff. And, boy, it is definitely like a mess. It's definitely a mess. And if if Shadows doesn't perform the way they need it to, it could be still successful. They could still sell millions of copies. But if it's not what they need, like Ubisoft is really in trouble and screwed, and I don't think they'll have a choice. Maybe they still have an ace up their sleeve. We'll see. Maybe they found a way to kind of cheat the system and stay alive a little longer. But eventually, reality smacks you in the face. And they just make generic games. That's the problem. And I would even say, too, like they make a lot of games that are just very underwhelming. They used to be top of the line and top dog about a decade ago. I'd even say a little less than a decade ago. Like I think of Ghost Recon Wildlands. Like frick yeah, dude, that game is amazing. And that's well, that'll be 8 years ago now this year. So yeah, we're getting close to it. Wow, man, I'm just getting old. That's okay though. As long as I'm growing, it'll be worth it. But yeah, they just don't make crazy, insane games anymore, and a lot of their games are just safe. A lot of their stuff too, like they put time and energy and effort into just making like K-Vest omniracial so she can try to, it's like, man, if that's the issue, just let us have a character creator and let us create who we want. I think that would be great. I think that'd be the perfect way around that problem. But anyway, yeah. I'm kind of curious about Shadows. I might pick up a month, but again, it's like, I know I'm not going to like it. I know I'm not going to like it, but yeah, we'll talk more about that when the game actually comes out. Let's take a look at GameStop. They're actually looking to sell their France and Canadian operations, and they had a review of the company and how they're doing. And yeah, so the decision was made, hey, we're going to sell off the Canadian and French operations for the corporation. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen to those stores. Maybe it'll kind of be something like Game Crazy back in the day, where people could buy independently, like the franchise or by the store. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen with them or with those stores. Like, it says they're going to sell them off, but currently they don't have any buyers. And yeah, if they don't have any buyers, they'll probably just shut them down. So again, just more workers affected by the lack of game selling in the industry from a different point. And I know a lot of people don't really like GameStop. I worked there myself. It's certainly not perfect. I don't always enjoy all of their policies either. But again, when they're gone, like there isn't going to be a big retailer left in the world that's going to push for physical copies because like that was their business model, right? And when they're gone, I think that is just going to accelerate the push to just digital only. We already saw that with Avowed. There isn't going to be a physical copy at all. We got to see that too with Veilguard. Unfortunately, like even the collector's edition, you get a digital code. It's like, oh, come on. Like you can't even make a physical copy. So yeah, physical copies, they're just on their way out, folks. And that's what's killing GameStop. Even walking into mine in town, take a look, and it's like half of their store isn't even video games. It's figurines and shirts and plushy mellow things and Pokemon decks, and that's just what it is. It's not good. It's not good. Let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. This was another brutal remaster from Aspyr. Man, I tell you, it's so frustrating seeing the games they're putting out, but I don't think it's necessarily their fault. I think it's just that Embracer is just making them do this level of quality. So yeah, it's not great, but if you want, I'll link this below as well. But yeah, you can watch the Angry Joe Show. They took time to buy the game and actually stream it. The first few levels, and ultimately it's fun going down memory lane. But man, the bugs are still there. There's still camera issues. There's frustrating aspects of the gameplay. Like it is a basically exact copy of the game from PlayStation 1, and I mean, gal, we're talking, we're talking super old game here, like 25 years plus, maybe. I don't know exactly when it came out, but yeah, Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. It'll be a fun nostalgia, but boy, don't pay a lot for it because you're not likely to beat the game. And then yeah, the bugs too just make it that much more frustrating. So yeah, you can still co-op, which is great. Again, it's like an exact copy But yeah, it's not done super well. And yeah, seeing the gameplay too, and hearing them talk about the gameplay and what they're doing, it reminds me of Star Wars Battlefront Collection. It reminds me of Bounty Hunter. I mean, Star Wars Battlefront Collection was $35, if I remember correctly, and man, just that game wasn't really remastered. The servers too were a mess. On top of that, it still sucks. And yeah, that was incredibly frustrating. And the other game, Bounty Hunter, was a pretty good game for back then. It had some pretty awesome controls, including flying and stuff like that, which is pretty amazing for back then. But again, it is just like nothing is redone. It is just like here is a 4K textured overlay over the same stuff, and it really doesn't. Maybe some also shadow differences or lighting differences, but like it is, it is freaking horrible, and it's pretty bad. And so yeah, both of these two were remastered by Aspire directly, and both are, in my opinion, they're poor quality. They're not great. Yeah, Bounty Hunter was $30, which it should have been more like 20 or 25 in my opinion. After playing them. Now, we do have the Tomb Raider remasters, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and these are published by Aspire, but these are ultimately done by Saber Interactive, and this is definitely a different quality. You can see it and feel it in the gameplay, and it is wonderful. I'm enjoying those to death. So, yeah, don't be afraid with the Aspire name on there. They're done by Saber, and yeah, the quality is completely different. Some of the models are redone, the texturing, and they work on fixing some of the bugs. And it's still not a perfect game. Like some of the cinematics still aren't great, but man, it is definitely worth the $30 for 3 games with all of the DLC on top of it. It's wonderful. Um, so yeah, if you're curious, you can check out Star Wars Jedi. I won't. I'll save my money. But yeah, you can watch the link down below and just walk down memory lane with those guys. They have a fun time. Next, let's talk about Microsoft MUSE. So there is a video I'll link down below, but ultimately this is basically a generative gameplay AI tool that devs can use. And the idea is that you can have the AI learn the game, which unfortunately we found out it took 7 years basically of gameplay, 7 full years of gameplay to actually, learn the game. and and they were able to render it properly, which is cool. It didn't take them 7 years, but it was 7 years worth of gameplay. I'll put it that way. And yeah, the AI is able to learn the button inputs. It's able to learn the game mechanics in the game, the physics in the game. It's able to learn all of this different type of stuff. And then the interface, MUSE, allows you to add and subtract and tweak stuff in real time, and the AI will adjust and adapt. So this makes it pretty nice in like alpha phase for developing a game, to where you can have the AI learn the game on a basic level and then be able to add and drop stuff into it and see if certain things would work with the game, or how something would change the gameplay or the level or an enemy or whatever. And that is kind of cool, honestly. It's a nice tool, but again, with all of these AI tools, it streamlines things, it makes things easier, it makes things faster, and faster is always nice, but it also means you can also have less people to do the same amount of work in the same amount of time. So yeah, there's two sides to this. It can be a great tool, but also it can ultimately replace people in the end too. And I am also curious to see if how they exactly use this, because they did say in their video that they're possibly looking at also not remastering, but porting over old stuff. So basically the program would look at a game that's on a platform, basically remember and memorize, and then like quote make the game as a port to somewhere else. So it would help the process and speed up the process with that. But again, I'm not entirely sure how that works, because it's like you still have licensing issues, but like maybe you didn't exactly make the game. Maybe now you're just streaming what the AI thinks actually happens in the game, which, oh my gosh, like I don't personally want to get there. So yeah, this is actually quite interesting. Also, too, this has a quality assurance aspect to it. So it's like you have a build, you can let your AI run through it and be like, oh, there's one. Yeah, that's not supposed to happen either. There's one. And then someone else a human can come in. It's crazy we have to say that, a human can come in and then start working on all of the bugs and stuff. But yeah, I'm not necessarily sold on this. I think it can be a helpful tool, but again, it's like companies aren't necessarily going to I think just use it as a tool. They'll work to streamline the business when money gets tight again in the future, and it will. It'll get tight again at some point, and that'll be pretty frustrating to have more layoffs on top of that. So, and this too is getting pretty interesting. We also learned about DeepSeek recently from China, and that can build and write code in multiple scripts. And so it's like, okay, you can have an AI that builds scripts and writes the code, and then you can have another AI learn how everything is supposed to run with that code. And it's just like, good golly, we're getting to a point where we don't really need quote, and I use that term loosely, but yeah, need code to actually make a video game. We need people to definitely make a good video game. I absolutely believe that, and creativity and all of that as well. But it makes me curious too what Microsoft's also going to do with this. I mean, are they going to use it for game preservation? Are they going to use it for streamlining the dev process? Again, it's far away from actually being utilized for something, like an actual tool. They're still probably years away from this, but the fact that they've been able to make this jump and also increase the resolution is pretty impressive. So, yeah, it does make me ultimately curious. And two, when they finally make this into like a final stage for release and use, are they going to make a suite of tools, AI tools, that can utilize this type of technology for other third party? Like if you're willing to pay a subscription, right, as a dev studio, do you get all of these tools and hasten the development of your game and also get probably more people laid off? I don't know. It's very, very interesting. But all of this will take time to build and improve and stuff, but it is coming. I mean, we already can do AI voices. We can already do AI art. Like, look at Call of Duty for that, right? Also, landscaping, basically. I mean, that was Hello Games back in like 2011. So, like, we are just continuing to improve, and it takes time, but like we're continuing to improve this stuff, and companies aren't going to quit. I mean, they're going to keep going. They're going to want to streamline and speed up and cheapen as much as they can to the nth degree. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly like it. Most of you probably feel about that too, but yeah, if it can be actually used as a tool, great. Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure it'll also replace people as well. If you want to see the video again, that's also linked down in the description. Boy, let's talk about Avowed. So some people are really liking it, and boy, that's not the issue that we're going to talk about today. It's being pushed in the media this week, again, which is kind of weird. It's being pushed especially on the weekend. But yeah, we're not looking at ratings necessarily, but just looking at numbers on Steam. It's not necessarily doing that well. Which, again, there's roughly about 19 million Game Pass subscribers, which is pretty nuts. Actually, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, those wouldn't be counted, would they? That's true. They wouldn't be counted, but kind of low, suspectingly. And, yeah, what's going on in the media is well, let's see, I'll get there. A little ahead of myself. So, yeah, on Steam, Avowed with early access players were about 13,000. On release day, that was 17,000, which was peak. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was 159,000 on release, and peak was 256,000 players on Steam. We know that Warhorse has already sold 2 million copies so far. They've made roughly about $150 million. Skyrim 2, taking a look, their 24-hour peak was 31,000 on Steam. So far, Avowed almost kind of seems doing like doing like a Suicide Squad, ultimately. And I'm not saying it's necessarily Suicide Squad quality. That's not what I'm saying, but it's just like it doesn't really seem to be selling very well, ultimately, on Steam, because we would expect those numbers to be a heck of a lot bigger. So why are we talking about this? Again, well, let's bring it back to the news outlets. They're basically saying that Avowed is #1 in the sales charts on Steam on release day. And it's like, okay, how can that be the case when we take a look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and see that it's clearly bigger? And these news outlets, they're saying that it's beating Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Like, they are specifically making a comparison here. But again, just looking at the Steam charts, it's like, we don't necessarily see that. Maybe there's a typo. Maybe they make Game Pass. I don't know. But again, we don't even usually get that information from Microsoft. So I don't know what they're quoting necessarily. There is one tweet that we got to see, but yeah, this is pure Xbox, Game Ranks, and Game Rant. They're all running with this story, it being #1 on Steam, and it's like, dude, it literally just came out. Like, this is not proof yet that this is like a top seller or whatever. But some of these, they are quoting Aaron Greenberg, which said it's #1 on Steam. Again, we didn't have a lot of context around this. And then people, again, they're just like running with this and saying it's #1 on Steam and checking the charts. But it's like, you're not comparing the Steam charts for Avowed to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or any other game for that matter. And it's like the numbers are clearly different. And I guarantee you with those numbers, there's also a lot more sales for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And so, yeah, again, I'm not exactly sure what what they're doing. And this is just kind of weird that they're running with this. I would expect, something like pure Xbox. Okay, yeah, with that news source, that makes sense. But yeah, this is kind of weird. And then, too, we're kind of wondering exactly what Aaron is seeing, because he's the VP of marketing over there at Microsoft for Xbox games. And again, like, all of this really doesn't make a ton of sense. And when I started seeing this online, I was like, oh, okay, hey, cool. It's doing pretty good. That's great. And then I'm looking at the Steam chart number. I'm looking at actual data, and it's just like, okay, this doesn't match up at all. Like, what are they talking about? What's going on? So either we're missing a piece of data, or like they know more than they can say, or they're just wrong. So I mean, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this. And some people really like Avowed, but I'm also going to try to remember to link another video, which once you see this, you cannot unsee it. It's crazy. And I'm thinking, too, of honestly taking a look at Outer Worlds, one of their previous games that's built like Avowed, and seeing testing some stuff. But yeah, the comparisons between Skyrim or Oblivion against Avowed is just like, wow, dude. What a difference. Again, those are two different studios. Yes, they are under the Microsoft umbrella still for gaming. But man, like, there's a lot of stuff in Avowed that I think they could have added that would have made it a heck of a lot more immersive. And I think ultimately that's what's being pointed out. And then it's like, okay, I paid $60 for Skyrim or Oblivion, and they're wanting me to pay $70 for a game that's less immersive. And I don't know, I just think it's really, really interesting. But I'll try to also remember to link that down below. We got to hear from Yoshida. He is currently not forever. He's tapping out on April 1st, but got to hear from Yoshida, the current CEO of Sony. And The Last of Us Online, I guess, was pretty good. He took some time to play it himself to talk about the game a little bit. But ultimately what happened was that Bungie came by and told Naughty Dog that with the amount of work required for an online multiplayer game or live service game like The Last of Us Online would have been, it was going to take more work than what they were capable of with wanting to do The Last of Us Online and Intergalactic. And so the studio, Naughty Dog, ultimately decided, look, we're going to focus on Intergalactic, and we're basically going to scrap an almost finished product with The Last of Us Online. Because, again, Yoshida was able to play it, so it's not like they were really too far away with all the work they've done so far. But, too, that's also money down the drain. Like, this is not going to go anywhere. It's probably tens of millions or maybe even 100 million in development costs that are just going to disappear into nothing, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, at least they can maybe make a patch or something and just patch it in. Like, I don't understand why they can't do that to, part 2 or something. Why not? Or just release basically what they have. Put a small team, finish it up, and put it out there. Some of the community on PlayStation would love to play it, and they were excited for that. So, yeah, kind of crazy. So yeah, ultimately, The Last of Us Online was a game that Naughty Dog also really wanted to do and make, but they didn't have enough funding or team or whatever, and so they're like, well, this is what we got, and we got to put one down. So we'll put down The Last of Us, and now we have Intergalactic, and not everybody's excited about that. So yeah, we'll see how Intergalactic does. We'll probably get Intergalactic in 26, is my guess. Maybe toward the end of 26. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Also, Yoshida took time to comment on why we have so many live service games at PlayStation. Well, ultimately, the studios knew that the live service was a main focus at PlayStation Studios. Thank you, Lion, for that. He shot me in the gut. I'm fine, though. The show goes on. So yeah, we know that they were basically buying Bungie, Firewalk, and Haven for all of these live service games. We also know Japan Studios was basically shut down because, again, they kind of had smaller experiences or didn't even necessarily deal in live service. And yeah, ultimately, well, in 2, we also know that Resistance 4 was also pitched by Insomniac, and that was denied. And so, yeah, when you have all of these things happening, it's like, well, how are we going to get a game approved? Oh, live service is kind of a big deal. Hey, God of War live service. They're going to tell the story they want with the type of genre that will get approved. And that's how we get to this issue. And yeah, we still have Wolverine Intergalactic. You know, they won't likely be live service, but they definitely are going to be bigger games. But yeah, so far we have 10 live service games that have been canceled. And again, it's like Yoshida was saying that all of the studios basically presented what they wanted to make. But again, when you get denied, or other studios get denied, but you see all of the live service ones are going in okay, it's like, okay, ultimately, yeah, that's what we're going to see here is we're just going to a whole bunch of excuse me as I have hiccups, one-minded way of just making, hey, let's just make live service. Let's call it live service. Then they'll approve it. And that's horrible. Again, it's like we all know now. I mean, with 10 live service games, it's like, good God, come on, Sony. Like, it's okay to have some live service. That's fine. But you also can't put all of your eggs in one basket. That's a horrible investment idea, whether it's stock or products or services, whatever. But unfortunately, that's kind of what they did. And so 2024, we didn't have a lot. 2025, we won't have a lot. And 2026, we'll probably start having some games again. But, man, it's just a horrible look, you know. And two, this is probably billions down the drain. Yeah. It's probably billions down the drain of money that they invested that they won't get a return on. I mean, think of that. Think of that. That is just insane. Even with Sony's last earnings call for the last 3 months, you know, they made $29 billion for the quarter, but they actually made less at the end of it all. They actually made a little bit less than last holiday by like $10 million, by $10 million. And that's crazy. It's like you have you have billions of dollars more in revenue, but after taxes, after all of your expenses, like you don't actually get to keep any more profit. Gow, that hurts. That's expensive. That's expensive to have all of these games that have been canceled and just like, well, you know, and they're not going to cancel them all at once. They haven't been. Because, again, they're not going to have a horrible quarter where they look broke. They're a publicly traded company. They can't do that. So they're going to mitigate the damage across multiple quarters with these cancellations. But, gal, I hope all of you are as tired of live service as I am. I'm just ready for a good live service. And there are a few out there. I'd love to see Helldivers, okay? That would be great. I'd love to see or some kind of free-to-play model, you know, if it's worth it for people and stuff. But, man, I mean, it's just brutal what's going on. It's horrible. Let's talk about Apple. So this is kind of like another service, public service announcement, excuse me. Don't get dyslexia, folks. It sucks. But yeah, Apple has ultimately gotten rid of their advanced data protection in the United Kingdom. So FYI, if you're not sure what that is, this is basically a feature where your data can be encrypted, and you have like a password or a phrase that can give you and only you access. And yeah, no one else, including the government, can even see or unlock this data. So the UK has been pushing Apple, hey, give us a back door. And so Apple gave in ultimately this last week. And looking at the demographics, the latest data showing that basically 14% of all of UK residents have an iPhone, and probably multiple other Apple products. And this is not necessarily good because it's like, okay, now you're getting rid of this encryption. You're getting rid of this advanced privacy protection. We already don't have a ton of privacy rights to begin with. And we don't even have any laws about this really to a degree. We have medical protection, right? But like our data of using products and services, we don't really have protections on that anywhere in the world, at least as far as I know. If you know of somewhere, leave it down in the comments. But this is pretty frustrating because, when it happens in one place, it's likely to happen somewhere else. All it takes is someone, basically pushing on Apple or anybody else to be like, hey, let us have your data. Let us have your data. And a lot of times, regardless of where it is in the world, the companies oblige. And so that sucks. There's got to be a way to protect user privacy. Instead of just some authority coming in through the door and being like, hey, just let us have all your data. It's like, well, yeah, we're not China, okay? We're better than that. But over in China, they don't have a choice anyway, which sucks. So yeah, I hope this I hope this doesn't continue to spread. Okay, I hope it basically stops at the UK, that Apple grows some balls. But they had to have gotten a bone too, I'm guessing, in the UK. And yeah, that's why they're doing this. Because everybody has a price. Everybody does. But yeah, I believe in privacy. I believe in the rights and user data. And governments already have too much power already. So yeah, I hope this doesn't continue. Because yeah, if it happened in the States, that would be awful. Because yeah, there's a ton of users in the States. I mean, there's like 150 million iPhones sitting out there somewhere that people are using. It's just like, man, that sucks. And then on top of that, it's like a lot of other companies, they don't even have this type of protection. So, but yeah, part of their amazing thing to sell their product, Apple is backtracking on. Luckily, it's just in one place, but still, that's not a good look. And again, I just hope that doesn't go any further. I will link down a video on this from Some Ordinary Gamer. And that way you can take a look at it, get a little bit more information, but it'll also show you how to basically have your own private network, and he'll show you how to set that up. So, because yeah, he believes in privacy rights too, and he talks about this kind of stuff all the time. I like his channel. Last thing, let's talk about Sony. Well, they have another class action lawsuit. Like they keep having these. Like, Sony, what the frick are you doing? But yeah, Dutch Consumer Foundation, which I cannot pronounce, has filed against Sony Interactive Entertainment for high prices on the PlayStation Store. They say that digital games in the Netherlands are basically costing 47% more than their physical counterparts in the country. And so Netherlands isn't overly big to begin with. Doesn't have a massive population, but like 47% more than the physical copies, that's crazy. And there's no other way to get the games anywhere else except for the physical copies. So it's also probably making the physical copies go up, the ones that exist. And yeah, PlayStation Store just has 47% higher price on the digital game. Like, Sony, what the frick are you doing? That's crazy. That's crazy. And even digitization is supposed to be cheaper. But that's not the case, apparently. That's not what's happening. So yeah, that's pretty insane. Now, to be fair, Japan has been having some pretty crazy deflation or inflation of their currency, devaluing of their currency in yen, and so yeah, they're probably fighting that a little bit. But God, 47%, like that's unfair to your player base. That's nuts. So yeah, the Consumer Dutch Foundation basically says this affects roughly 3 million gamers in the Netherlands, and that they've been overpaying for years, and that PlayStation owners, they can only purchase again through the PlayStation Store unless they can find a physical copy, which those are of course, getting harder and harder to find for many reasons. And so with this store's monopoly, there's basically a big and they have a big share of the console market. The Dutch is calling this the Sony tax. And their lawsuit is 1 billion euros. 1 billion euros. That's huge. So yeah, Sony better start figuring this stuff out because they've already had some slaps on the hand. I mean, in 2023, they had the UK appeals basically okay a case against companies, including Sony, to guarantee competition. We also had, in December of 2024, Sony also settled a class action lawsuit in California for the same monopoly in its store and content, which was roughly about $7.85 million. Again, not a lot. And there's also now a lawsuit starting in Portugal for the same reason. Sony, what do you like? Are you going to wait for all of the countries to start filing against you? Because you have the Dutch is filing you for 1 billion euros, and you're basically in 100 countries. You're going to go broke, even for $500 million, even $250 million. Like, this is going to have massive effects, not just on PlayStation, but just for your entire company. Like, this is crazy. So yeah, they need to either lower their prices to be competitive with other options that are out there, or allow their content, like their games, for example, to be sold somewhere else. And the competition, competition laws don't allow you to just hold all of the cards in your hand. You can't create a monopoly and then just jack the prices up. And again, this has been Sony's behavior for quite some time. Now, starting in 2025, I don't think that necessarily will be an issue for future lawsuits. I don't think they'll happen because, again, you can now buy it on Steam on another store. And also some of their games are going over to Nintendo, so you can buy it over on Nintendo's store over there. And I think eventually, yes, too, even Xbox to some degree will be able to, you'll be able to get all of those. Or maybe not all of them, but some of them. But yeah, we're seeing Sony kind of lose its walls a little bit on being exclusive. But yeah, this is part of the issue with exclusivity. It's just like if you keep jacking up the price on everything, if you keep holding the monopoly, it's just like you can't do that. Like, you're just going to piss off your player base. Okay, you're going to have antitrust competition lawsuits and class action at $1 billion. That really kind of blew my mind. It's really why it's making the news this time. But yeah, Sony needs to be fixing this before all of these other countries start filing. And it's not like the other countries aren't having issues with finances and recession and whatever else. Okay, it's bad in a lot of places. And even though we technically don't have one in the States, it's brutal in a lot of other countries. And so yeah, if countries need money, and it's like, well, these other countries, they're winning this lawsuit hand over fist, we can do that too. So yeah, Sony really needs to nip this in the bud pretty quickly and make amends to some degree before the class actions really start get going. Because yeah, this is their third one in a year. Like, this is not good. This is not a good image for Sony either. So yeah, Sony better start fixing this. Again, Yoshida is going to be removed as president of Sony, the head of Sony. We're also have a new person over Sony Interactive Entertainment, Noshino, excuse me, and that'll be good. So yeah, hopefully they can turn some of this bird around because yeah, you can't just keep having lawsuits all the time. That's horrible. So yeah, that's all I had for the news. I guess one other thing too. I had a hot take, I guess. Too hot of a take on the beta for Monster Hunter Wilds. And oh my, did that video blow up for me personally. It's like 600 views now, which is a lot for me. That is insane for me, actually. And it's also the most downvoted video that I have. 28% so far have liked the video. The others have downvoted. I think the split is 10 likes and 25 dislikes. And man, the video was only 10 minutes, but like, you should see some of the novels under that video of making different points. But ultimately, I think it's good. I mean, I think it's good to have conversation. I think it's good to have discussion over stuff, because that's ultimately how we get to the truth, and that's the whole point of this channel. So, with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always find me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube, and you can also watch me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee if you wish, or to just get it there first. And when I do news or deep dives like this, I don't watch the chat because I just need to keep that free flow of information going and not get interrupted. Otherwise, it can really mess me up, which is frustrating and just more post editing for me. And I'm already a busy dude, so. But yeah, with gameplay and stuff, I like doing Halo, for example. You know, I really try to actually watch the chat and interact with the chat. So yeah, for gameplay stuff, or even for doing betas and whatever, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, for doing stuff like this. With gaming news, yeah, I don't watch the chat at all. But anyway, you can find me wherever you'd like. And also, too, you know, take time to continue to work on those goals. You know, I bring that up every so often. But yeah, just work on the goals for this year, because you're worth investing in. And, you know, life is hard, but it doesn't get easier if you wait. Okay, it doesn't get any more simpler. And, you know, you can always find a way out of your mess. And people, too, like I said earlier, people are just having those layoffs. It's getting worse. I'm even seeing the unemployment data in the United States tick up, and it's ticking up in other places of the world, too, still. Places like Canada and Germany. So, yeah, just be aware. Just continue to... yeah, work towards your future, because it really matters. And yeah, it's exhausting, it's scary, whatever. But there's other people that are out there that can help you too. So yeah, ask for advice. And I feel like our generation doesn't really do that anymore. And I think that's a huge mistake. So anyway, with that, folks, we'll see you guys on the next one.